If you're an indie dev, a very easy way to simultaneously get attention for your game and make development somewhat simpler is to create a spiritual successor to something, a new game in some long-dormant genre, or a reimagining of a classic title. Most of the time, these are instantly recognizable games with a long lineage that people really miss. But as is the case with the game I'm looking at today, it can also be something that people may or may not necessarily be able to name, but can immediately recognize. Wizorb is, at its heart, basically Breakout, which is a name not a ton of people probably recall at this point. But the concept is something you'll remember instantly. There's a ball hitting a paddle at the bottom of the screen, and then that ball is breaking blocks. It's, in a very vague way, a sort of single-player Pong. Of course, Wizorb is not only Breakout. If you tried to just make Breakout again and sell it on a store, nobody would buy it. And it's the way it changes that formula, what it chooses to combine it with, that makes Wizorb interesting. Because you see, the rest of Wizorb, the parts that don't owe their heritage to Breakout, owe old-school RPGs. That's right, this game is a cross between one of the oldest Atari arcade games and one of the oldest forms of video game RPGs. And weirdly enough, it ends up working really well. The biggest advantage of using the Breakout system is immediately obvious: easy iteration of levels. By adding new types of blocks and arranging them in increasingly more challenging ways, the developers are able to create a very satisfying difficulty curve. And that difficulty curve does have a pretty severe ramp to it. Wizorb gets really hard, quite a bit harder than you would ever expect a Breakout game to get. But the game also gives you ways of dealing with it. Because unlike Breakout, you also have a number of abilities to help you out. You start off with a series of relatively basic ones. You can shoot a fireball to destroy blocks in case you can't just hit them with the ball. You can use wind to alter the course of the ball. You can teleport the ball, or you could just speed up the ball. All those abilities help you to make shots that would otherwise be almost impossible without some really extreme skills. But there's also that underlying RPG-ness I spoke of earlier. And that comparison goes beyond the obvious skin-deep similarities that it shares with those games' graphical styles. There's a town you return to with shops and townspeople with a destroyed village that you can slowly choose to rebuild with the gold you're making and open up new options to yourself in between levels. It is admittedly relatively light on its RPG mechanics, and it is mostly a stylistic choice. But they did do more than just pay basic lip service to the idea of the old-school Nintendo-style RPG. But what Wizorb lacks in mechanical depth, it makes up for with sheer volume. Granted, that's not always a good thing, and the game definitely does get a bit tiring. But with it sitting at a price point of $3, it's absolutely worth checking it out just for the fun style and entertaining new twist on the very old Breakout formula. Every Friday, I look at a game that people either ignored when it came out or have forgotten since. Games that people have missed. If you like that idea, be sure to subscribe so you can see the latest videos. If you like this video in particular, be sure to hit that like button, and thanks for watching.